Okay, the season has ended. Summertime is coming near. Most people have put up their beagles, put up their collars, put up their dogs. Most people are sitting back, laying back on the couch, just watching TV. But for those that are serious about really having good hounds, whether that's good beagles, good squirrel dogs, good coon dogs, good bird dogs, we are out training. This is prime training time. So I just wanted to take a minute and just speak to you all about training, about the different things that I do in training during this time of year. For beaglers, this is prime running time. A lot of the rabbits are having babies here or there, so it's a lot of rabbits on the move. So this is really good running time, not for necessarily grown dogs, but it's very good time for puppies. Most of the time, this time of year, I do not run my grown dogs as much due to the fact that I live in the South and snakes are very bad down here. So therefore, I run my puppies this time of year. What are the different methods used to break beagles from running deer? Now, I've heard different stories about how to break beagles from running deer. One method is to take a barrel, take some deer hide, put the deer hide in the barrel, put the deer legs in the barrel, put the beagle in the barrel, and close the barrel up, make sure some holes in it so the beagle can breathe, and roll the barrel down the hill with the beagle in there. That's really a lot of old timers use that method. I heard that method growing up. I'll be honest with you, I have never ever used that method, but I've heard many old timers talk about using that to break beagles from running deer. Some even say when you put the beagle in there, have a training collar on the beagle, so as the beagle is rolling down the hill, you shock the beagles. Again, I have never tried that method. One reason why I haven't tried it, I think it's a little bit dangerous, because in the midst of all that rolling, I will be nervous that my beagle would break a leg or hurt his hip or just get injured in the process. Therefore, it really will defeat the purpose, because if you break the beagle from running the deer, but at the same time he break his leg, then you're in a more worse state. So therefore, I have not tried that method, but that is one method used. Method number two is to put a deer hide in the kennel with your beagles and put a not a training collar, but put a hot wire, connect the hot wire to the deer hide, such that when the beagles or when the dogs smell the deer hide, that it would shock them. And the mindset is to get the beagles to, when they smell the deer scent or deer hide, to run away, run the opposite direction of it. Again, I have never tried this method. It sounds like it's a little bit more safer than the first method that I mentioned, but I've never tried that method. Now, method number three, the one that I use most of the times, I train the beagles how to run a rabbit, probably from the time they're 4, 5, 6 months old. And normally about 7, 8, 9 months old, they can run the rabbit pretty good. So by that time, deer are everywhere that I'm running from the time I start them. But I try to avoid deer if I see deer at that stage. But just so it happened, deer are everywhere again. So about 8, 9 months old, sooner or later we're going to run across a deer track. If we don't run across a deer track, I'm fine. But if we do run across a deer track, I already have my training collars on the beagles. Once my beagles start running good from the beginning, once they run that first rabbit and they can run it good, I put a training collar on. I train, and then just say for instance we run across a deer track. Then I turn the training collar all the way up to the highest level, and I mash it and I shock them. And I may hold it on the highest level probably 5, 10, sometimes 15 seconds, and the beagle will turn flips, roll, and I'll let it up off there. About 10 seconds later, I'll mash it again, and the beagle would roll and everything. And I use that method. After doing that probably 1, 2, 3 times, most of my beagles are normally broke. And that's the third method that I know. There may be some other methods out there that you could use to break beagles from running deer, but those are the 3 main ones that I heard some people using. What speed do I prefer my beagles to run? Speed is a very difficult thing to measure, especially when you're talking on the phone or talking with someone and they say my beagle run medium speed, or my beagle run medium fast, or my beagle run fast. Therefore, when judging speed, I judge speeds based on how far the beagles are behind the rabbit. For example, if the rabbit comes through and the beagles are normally 2 to 3, 4 minutes behind the rabbit, I say that's a medium speed pack. If on a consistent basis, if you see the rabbit and 2, 3, 4 minutes later you seen the beagles, I say that you probably running a medium speed pack. And that's how I judge a medium pack. Next, if the rabbit comes through and the beagles are normally, I would say 30, 45 seconds all the way up to like a minute and a half, 2 minutes behind the rabbit, I would say that's a medium speed pack. And again, this is more on a consistent basis, not what you see every now and then, because sometimes on the first circle they may be behind the rabbit, and then as you run more, they get closer and closer to the rabbit. But if on a consistent basis your beagles are 30 seconds, 45 seconds, all the way up to a minute and a half, 2 minutes behind the rabbit, I would say you're running probably a medium fast speed pack. And then third, if your beagles are normally 30 seconds in to the rabbit, like the rabbit cross, and normally within 30 seconds or less your beagles are coming through, I would say you're probably running a fast pack. And that's how I normally judge how fast my beagles run. Personally, I believe I run more like a medium fast pack. My beagles are normally 30 seconds, and every now and then they get a minute and a half behind the rabbit. Sometimes on some of my videos you may see them a little bit faster than that, but they normally right in that 20 to 45 seconds behind the rabbit, which is what I prefer. My beagles, I would say, rarely catch rabbits. I have probably a few times a year where the beagles just catch a rabbit from just constant pressure, but that does not happen a lot. I really don't prefer it to happen a lot, but I run a medium fast pack. That's what I prefer, that's what I like. I have seen some good medium pack. I'm talking about some slower dogs that's probably 2 or 3, 4 minutes behind the rabbit. I personally don't run those kind of dogs, but I have seen some good packs like that I like. The good part about those packs, some of them, especially if you have a medium speed pack, that the dogs have big noses and they can smell the rabbit very well. You have to put up with a lot of cold trailing with those type dogs, but the good part about it, if they ever get on a rabbit, man, they can run a rabbit for hours upon hours because they have those strong noses. Now, we run in a lot of swamps and run a lot of swamp rabbits. We run cottontails as well, but we like for the beagles to push the rabbit. We like for the beagles to be no more than 20, 30 seconds behind the rabbit, no more than all the way up to a minute. Sometimes they get a minute behind the rabbit, which is still not bad based on the terrain when you're talking about running in swamps and running in dry thickets. I know oftentimes I see some videos and the beagles are running and the rabbit is running in like hay fields and in more open areas. We rarely get opportunities like that. Like I don't even know one time that we harvested a rabbit in the open, or where a rabbit was running across a hay field or something like that. Most of the running down here in the South in Alabama, it's in swamps or it's in dry thickets, or if it's an opening, it's a thicket, it's an opening, then it's another thicket. So it's a lot thicker down here. So therefore we like for the rabbits, for the beagles to push the rabbit at a decent pace, because if not, some of these swamp rabbits, they'll be if you let them, they'll be 30 minutes in front of the beagles, and so it'll be so difficult to predict where the rabbit is. So therefore I call it a medium fast pack. What gear do I use to train? A lot of people ask me that. What do I use when I'm training? Number one, for being in South Alabama, snake-proof boots and snake-proof chaps. Sometimes I put on the chaps, sometimes I don't, but 99% of the time I always have on snake-proof boots. Number two, I have a stick with me. My mentor says that every trainer needs a stick, and it's not a big stick. It's normally probably my height or less, and I'm like 5'6", 5'7", so it's normally my height or less. Just a stick to beat the brush if I have to, which I rarely do. Every now and then I run across a snake, so the stick probably serves as more so as to keep the snakes away more than anything. I have bug spray, because if you're running in the summertime, you have to put on bug spray. So I keep the bug spray in my truck, so when I'm getting out the truck, I always spray myself just to make sure the bugs don't bother me. Snake proof chaps, stick, bug spray, flashlight. I run at nighttime just as much as I run in the daytime, so I always have a flashlight. Snake proof boots and chap, stick, bug spray, flashlight, and training collars. Training collars are a must-have. I would not spend my time trying to train any dog if I don't have a training collar. Not necessarily, especially at this point in where I'm at now. Once the Beagles are broke off deer, mine are normally broke if they ever run deer. Probably by the time they hit a year old, they're definitely broke all the way. So the training collars are more so for the tone feature. For instance, the Beagles are running 200 yards away, and if I'm ready to go, if they get in a long check, I tone them to tell them come on. Once I call, if they don't come, I just tone them, tell them come on. So training collars are a must for me every time I go out. But that's some of the gear that I use to train with. Do I train in the morning, evening, or nighttime? I actually train throughout any time throughout the day. I love training in the morning, evening, and night, especially if you have some puppies. Normally the morning time, very early in the morning time, and late in the evening, nighttime, it's very good for training pups because the rabbits are moving a lot better, and I don't know if scenting conditions may be a little bit better. I once heard that you shouldn't train Beagles at night, shouldn't run them at night because it messes up their nose. I'll be honest with you, I train probably more at night than I do in the daytime, due to the fact that oftentimes you're busy doing so many other things in the daytime that nighttime is the only time you can run. And when I say night, I'm talking about when it's when the sun is setting, when it's almost about to get dark, to when it's dark. It has not affected my Beagles whatsoever. I have heard the stories that it affects your Beagles if you're running at night. I would say for me personally, it has not affected my Beagles whatsoever. So I run in the morning, evening, and night. Especially, I love running already trained dogs in the evening time when the rabbits are not moving as much, so it requires them to hunt a little bit more. I like to see what my Beagles are going to do an hour after not even jumping a rabbit. Are they still going to be hunting? So therefore, I train morning, evening, and night. It's no special time. Whenever it's convenient and I want to train, I train. Do I run my Beagles with other packs? I do. I run my Beagles with most of the time with anybody's pack. I don't run with a lot of people. So when I say with anyone's pack, that may not be true because I just don't run with a lot of people because I have so many Beagles and I like to run as many as I can out of my own pack. But I will run my Beagles with anybody pack. It doesn't bother me. Now, I do understand the argument that when people say I don't run my Beagles with nobody else pack. I understand that, and the argument behind that is if I train all summer and I work my dogs and get them how I want to get them, and then another guy may not, or another girl, whoever has Beagles may not train as much as me, we let all our dogs out, their dogs hit a deer, and I have some puppies that I'm trying to break off deer, and my puppies go with those dogs, then that's not good for me. So therefore, I understand why some people do not run with everybody. I agree with that method. I actually hunt with some guys that when we hunt, if I run with them, they take their dogs or I take my dogs. But then again, I also run with some other guys where they take their dogs and I take one or two of my dogs, or I take my dogs and they take one or two of their dogs. So I do it either method, just depends on who I'm running with. But most of the guys I hunt with, I know what type of dogs they have. And then oftentimes when I hunt, somebody else may, like if I'm invited to hunt with somebody else, they may bring a few dogs that I don't know how the dogs are going to perform. But most of my Beagles, I have ran them so much that whether somebody else's dogs runs a deer or not, it doesn't really affect me. So therefore, it doesn't matter if I run with anybody dogs. I don't care what their dogs do. Now the main reason why I may not prefer to run with someone if our Beagles run different speeds. Like for instance, if my Beagles run medium fast and their Beagles run like a flat medium, then it's just not going to be an overall good day. So therefore, it will be more beneficial for them just to run their Beagles one time and for me to run my Beagles one time. And at the same token, if their Beagles are super fast, I would prefer, if I had certain Beagles out there, because some of my dogs are probably a little bit on the fast end, but if I had certain of my Beagles out there, I would prefer if all of their Beagles are just super fast. I'm talking like 9, 10 speed. It probably wouldn't benefit me to run my Beagles with those dogs. But most people run medium fast. Every now and then you see somebody with a super fast pack, but it's so rare to see that. Even most people that claim they have a fast pack, most of them on average have medium fast pack. And again, medium fast is if the rabbit comes through, their Beagles are normally 30-45 seconds behind the rabbit. Like, you rarely see many people with a pack of Beagles when the rabbit comes through. Less than 30 seconds later, the Beagles come through. That some people do have packs like that, but it's not a lot of packs. So therefore, I run my Beagles with anybody pack. It doesn't bother me at all. But if I did have a lot of young dogs, I'll be a little bit more cautious about who I run with. But because I run so much, by the time my puppies are 1 year old, they've already ran probably close to 100 rabbits or more. So therefore, it doesn't affect me as much. But I do understand the argument about not running with everybody, running your Beagles with everybody else's pack.